Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. I had to say some of the highlights from his press conference. One thing that stuck out to me because it was something we all predicted. I gave my bold predictions for the season back 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I said was Deshaun Spears will start 6 or more games for LSU. That was one of the predictions. Well, Kelly didn't say that today. What he did say is that we've got to get more production out of the safety spot. He didn't name any names. He didn't give specifics. He didn't point to examples. He used very general terms when he just said, we've got to get more production from the safety spot. Now, if I want to dig deeper into that, what I read is, okay, we understand who Jordan Gilbert is. We understand what he was at Texas A&M, and he was out there on Sunday. We understand what Jordan Allen is. He's a sophomore, redshirt freshman on this team, and he's been out there, and those have been our two guys for the duration of camp. But we might need to look elsewhere for more production, and when you look elsewhere for more production, you see Deshaun Spears, you see Kylan Jackson. You see two guys from the state of Louisiana that are big and physical and just haven't really played. And those guys are going to get an opportunity against Nichols. They're potentially going to get some opportunities against South Carolina. They should get opportunities against UCLA. Then you've got an open date, and then Ole Miss comes to town, and you're going to want your best defensive personnel on the field when the lane train rolls into Death Valley. Like, that's just a fact. And if you think that the young guys give you an opportunity at that point, get them in the game. And I think you're going to see that. It'll start this week. Not saying the first snap. I would guess the first snap's still going to be Jordan Gilbert and Jordan Allen, but it would not surprise me if early on in the game, Deshaun Spears and or Kylan Jackson was in there. Why? Because you can make as many mistakes as you want against Nichols. You can't make enough mistakes against Nichols to affect the outcome of the game. LSU is going to win this game by 1,000. So there's no pressure. There's no risk. Put them in there, see what they can do. There's risk against Southern Cal. You get a safety out there that doesn't know where they're supposed to be, isn't ready for the moment, you could lose a game because of it. Now, unless you lost the game anyway, even though they didn't play young players at safety, but I think you're going to see those guys. That was a big point that I took from Brian Kelly's press conference, that safeties are going to be out on the field. Another guy that's going to be out on the field in the ball game on Saturday is Shelton Sampson. How do I know that? Because Brian Kelly said so. He said, we've got to get Shelton Sampson involved. Now, why did he say that? Is it because Shelton Sampson has just been balling in camp? I kind of doubt that. We didn't see a ton of that when we were out there, and if that was the case, he would have played more on Sunday night. I think he said that because he understands that Chris Hilton may not be back this week and that Kyle Parker is not going to play this week, and you're starting to get down the depth chart at wide receiver, and you're going to have some guys step forward, and he's kind of using the media to speak to Shelton Sampson, putting his name out there. He knows now people are going to write about him. The local newscasters are going to use him for the sportscast. There's going to be a buzz around Shelton Sampson for this week, and that's going to be a message to him to, hey, go out there and seize an opportunity. He hadn't had many opportunities. Got an opportunity last year in the game against Grambling, dropped 2 passes that could have been touchdowns. Didn't really see him after that. There weren't a lot of opportunities for anybody beyond Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors last year. That's not the case now. 10 guys got involved in the passing game on Sunday, and you're going to see more of the same coming up this weekend. And Shelton Sampson's going to be a big piece of that, and we'll see just how productive he is. So that was another nugget from the press conference today. Also, we talked yesterday a good bit about Brian Kelly's feelings on the coin toss, and I gave you my thoughts on it. I said, I don't like it. I want the ball coming out of halftime. If I'm up a score, I want the ball coming out of halftime. If I'm down a score, I want the ball coming out of halftime. Potentially, you could score at the end of the half, get the ball back, double dip without them having a chance at the football. I like all of those scenarios. I like all those situations. And Brian Kelly acknowledged those situations today. He said, look, some people like to defer, get the ball in the second half. I get it. But Brian Kelly added, his personal preference, he used the word personal. His personal preference is to start the football game with the football and go get 7 points. He says the team that wins
The team that scores first wins a significant amount of the time. And that's probably true. It's a cherry-picked statistic, but it's probably true. But you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and in my estimation, he has consecutive years tried too hard to get the 7 points and cost his team 3. That's my opinion. Either way, I don't think it's going to change. I don't think Brian Kelly, at this point in his career, after determining that going down and getting 7 points with the opening drive of the game is the most beneficial thing that can be resulted from the coin toss, he's not going to change his mind on that. That's just going to be what it is. He didn't take offense. He didn't snap back. It was Shea Dixon that asked the question, and he appreciated the other side of the argument. What he's saying is, I don't care. I like the football and go to score points. He kind of walked it back a touch and said there are situations where I would defer, but basically said, expect us to take the football no matter what. And I just don't love that thought. And I think it has compromised his decision-making because he's so committed to getting that opening 7 that he's bailing on that opening 3. But he talked about it today. What else did he have to say today? Talked about scheduling. And Scott Rabelais, the Advocate, asked him a question, said, is it time to start thinking about potentially maybe scheduling a little bit differently as opposed to a ranked team away from home to start the season? And Brian Kelly did not agree. He said, no, I like these games. I think it's a great opportunity to learn what you've got and who you are. If we win 73-0, we're not going to learn much about what our team is. And my comment to that end is, at what cost do you need to learn about your team? Because a loss in this sport is massive and cuts your margin of error down to 0. And I'm not willing to learn at that cost. It's too great. I can learn something from winning 70-0, and I don't have to take a loss. So, look, it doesn't really matter because LSU's got the next 2 openers already pegged with Clemson, and you're way down the line by the time you're going to change another season opener. But again, it all has to kind of tie back to the playoff and whether or not a big out-of-conference game is going to be some sort of tie-breaking mechanism or resume piece that boosts your postseason chances. If it does, then it's probably worth doing. If it doesn't, the risk is too great. I'm glad Brian Kelly could watch some tape on Monday and have some more thoughts on the team that he didn't necessarily have when they broke camp, but you're also 0-1. And most teams around the country aren't doing that. They're getting their freshmen in the game. They're getting their quarterback out in the third quarter. They're winning a game. It's something to think about. I realize it's not as much fun for the fans who want the big games and want the road trips and want the spectacle and want the spotlight. And look, the brand is capitalizing on it. LSU's everywhere you go. We've talked about that a lot over the summer. And being the only show in town is a really good thing for the brand unless you lose every year. So I don't expect a big change in scheduling philosophy. I think LSU will probably keep things fairly similar until the SEC throws a 9th conference game at them. Then maybe you see something tip. But that's my thoughts on Brian Kelly's update from today at the podium. He'll meet with reporters again on Thursday. He'll also have his weekly radio show on Thursday night as well. LSU and Nichols Saturday night in Death Valley, a 6:30 kickoff.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.